Professor Gelderboom could not join us today because he's not feeling too well. He's the chair of the Institute of Biomedical and Microbial Biotechnology at CPUT. So Janine has kindly offered to do the formal introduction, I suppose, to the very important topic of Rooibos and skin cancer.
So what I'm going to do today is just give you an introduction into skin cancer and just give you some statistics around it so that you guys have a good idea of why are we working specifically on skin cancer. Right, so if you take the skin is the largest organ of the body. It is about, weighs 3.6 kilograms of skin everyone has. It's got different layers. The outer layer is the epidermis. That's where all your new skin cells are made every month, and it protects the body against invasion from foreign bodies, shall I say. And that's also, that has the immune cells in it, the epidermis. Then the dermis is the deeper layer. That is where sweat is made to cool yourself down. It also helps with feeling. All the nerve endings are there. That's where your hair starts growing out. It also makes oil to feed the skin, and it also brings blood to the skin. So that's the dermis layer, and then underneath that we have a very important fat layer, and that is attached to the dermis, and it attaches also to muscle and bone. So this helps blood vessels and nerve cells. It also controls your body temperature and also protects you from bumps when you fall. So that's more or less the skin, and our skin is our first line of defense. If we are infected from outer, that is our first line of defense, the skin. What is the sun? Why is that an issue to us? So the sun rays are made up of different ultraviolet light rays. It's called UVA and UVB, and there's also a UVC. UVA is known as the aging rays. So those are the rays that are going to penetrate much deeper into the skin. It goes into the dermis layer, the second layer of the skin, that deep. And this is also why it increases your risk for cancer. And predominantly those are the rays that they use in tanning salons. So please be aware, do not use tanning salons. Sorry, the UVA is the aging rays. The UVB is the tanning rays. So they go just into the dermis, the upper layer of the skin, and it can cause really severe damage to that epidermis layer. That's also why you're lying in the sun, your skin gets red. That's inflammation in the skin that the sun rays are causing. So any overexposure of your body, of your skin to sun is going to cause some reaction, be it in your upper layers, in your dermis layer, or be it in your epidermis, your upper layer, or your middle layer, your dermis, your deeper layers. So in terms of UVC, at this stage we don't have to worry about it because it's completely filtered out by our ozone layer. But as we all know, is with global warming, our ozone are also depleting. Right, so what are the effects? So if you have a chronic exposure to sun, what happens to your skin? So it induces oxidative stress in the skin. It can induce DNA damage in those cells that I was talking about, and you can get premature aging, and also it affects obviously the immune system and the immune cells in it. So in terms of disease, what are we talking about? We're talking about either melanoma skin cancer that can develop, or your non-melanoma skin cancer. Your melanoma skin cancer will develop in your deeper layers. That's where your melanin are kept, and that is where that originates from. Your non-melanoma skin cancers are things like squamous cell carcinoma or basal cell carcinoma. Your most dangerous type of skin cancer is your melanoma type of skin cancers. So the skin stats in South Africa, it's the most common cancer in South Africa, is skin cancer. So who's at risk? Everyone is at risk. But specifically those that are, have a lighter skin tone, or that are redheads or blondes, because they don't have a lot of the melanin pigment that actually helps against protecting yourself, your skin cells, against UV rays. So annually there's 20,000 reported cases annually of skin cancer in South Africa, 700 deaths, and it's the second highest incidence in the world is South Africa, next to Australia. Australia has the highest incidence of skin cancer. What is our current preventative strategies? And I would also refer you here to the website of Cancer, the Cancer Association of South Africa. They do have a few pointers that they give you, and they ask to avoid sun exposure between 10 in the morning and 3 in the afternoon. Or they say, if you do find yourself in the sun, stay under the umbrella, keep in the shade, wear long sleeves, but also remember that those UV rays reflect off cement, off water, off sand, off grass, and you can still burn. So keep applying and reapplying your sunscreen. So other than that, we can still change our attitude towards the sun, and by taking additional preventative approaches. And we are referring to those additional approaches as photochemoprevention. It refers to a strategy in which you use natural occurring synthetic or synthetic compounds, and the natural compounds we're talking about are the phenolics that you do get in Rooibos, and we can use that as a preventative measure for skin cancer. So these plant components or polyphenols, they have different properties and different bioactivities, and some of them include being an anti-inflammatory, immune modulatory, or just modulating your redox status of your skin. So by modulating that, you can definitely help and protect yourself and prevent skin cancer from happening. So I said all these products that we are looking at into is Rooibos and honeybush, and they contain these phenolic compounds. So interesting facts is the International Agency for Research on Cancer, IARC in France, has classified UV-emitting tanning devices, such as sunbeds, carcinogenic, meaning can cause cancer to humans. Already it's a class 1 carcinogen labeled in 2009 by this agency. So Australia has gone a further way, and they've banned the use actually of sunbeds in certain states of their country since January 2015. And I know that Cancer Association of South Africa has now made a request to the Minister of Health to ban the use of sunbeds at least by our youth, less than 18 years of age. Why? Because most of the sun damage we actually experience through our lifetime occurs before the age of 18 years old. That's why. Okay, so treatment and the cost. Most skin cancers, if they are found early and they are at an early stage, can be treated very successfully. So the outcome is quite good. And also, as I said, it depends on the type of skin cancer. Your more malignant types are your melanoma skin cancers. And in 2015 alone, your skin cancer cost for the South African health system reached about 19 million rand. So you can see it's quite a big burden on our health system. Right, so I'm going to slot over to our researchers, and that's working with different models of skin cancer, and they can tell us a bit more of what they're doing.
Thank you very much for that. We'll start with you, Tandeka Magcwebeba, postdoctoral fellow at Stellenbosch University. Who is most at risk to developing skin cancer?
Okay, so the people who are most at risk of developing skin cancer are those who spend long hours in the sun, obviously. And other individuals that are most prone, as Janine has already alluded to it, as people who have a much fairer complexion because of their less pigmented skin. And it's also people who are, because of their geographical position, people who are exposed to high UV intensities. So you'd have people that are living closer to the hole in the ozone layer, being exposed to high UV intensities. And then people who also have a history, a personal history or a family history of skin cancer. So people who get precancerous lesions or moles, or who have people in their family that develop non-melanoma skin cancer. And lastly, it's people who have got a weakened immune system.
And the current treatment and prevention strategies, firstly, what are they, and are they effective?
Okay, so treatment strategies, Janine has already mentioned it in her presentation, but I'll quickly go over it. But I would like to start off with the prevention strategies. So you get two types of prevention strategies. There's primary and secondary. The primary intervention strategies mostly involve your sun awareness programs, and it also promotes sun avoidance behavior, and the use of protective clothing or agents when you're going to be out in the sun, like the use of sunscreen, wearing of hats. And then when we move on to the secondary prevention strategy, it also sort of, it combines primary prevention strategies with early detection and screening. Now, when it comes to treatment, you have 4 different ways in which cancer can be treated. You have your surgery that can be used. You can have phototherapy, you have radiation therapy, and you have chemotherapy, which can be in the form of topical ointment or oral anti-inflammatories.
The one I'm not familiar with is the phototherapy. What does that mean?
Okay, it's basically where they use laser, or sorry, yes, laser to
burn stuff on your skin.
Yes,
Okay.
maybe Janine can also step in my.
Sometimes they will actually sensitize the area that has been affected by skin cancer with an agent. And then they will shine light. So that's your phototherapy, the light therapy. So they will shine light on that agent, and that agent will activate and kill your cancer cells that are there. So that is phototherapy, what they're referring to.
Okay, thanks, Janine. So with these prevention strategies and treatment options, obviously they do work if you start them early, but they also have limitations and drawbacks. With the prevention strategies, the most obvious one is that people don't comply to using the protective or avoiding sun at a certain period. And then with the treatment options, I think the biggest one would be it causes disfigurement. So it reduces the patient's quality of life. And also it's highly invasive, especially with surgery. And it's not as easily, some of the options are not as easily accessible. And as I've mentioned or indicated, they're highly invasive. And some of these cancers sometimes present with a high recurrence rate. So they are effective, but they have limitations and drawbacks.
So how does Rooibos help?
So Rooibos helps, maybe if I can just take a step back. So with all these challenges or rather limitations that have been mentioned with prevention and treatment, it has been indicated that there's a need for an alternative strategy. And that alternative strategy was identified as chemoprevention, where you sort of target the use of natural compounds with hopefully lower toxicity, or rather they work at subcytotoxic concentrations to retard the process of cancer development. And if I can just give you sort of a mental picture of cancer development, it's basically 3 stages. So you have the stage of initiation where there is damage caused by the UV. And then you have the stage of promotion, which is basically caused by continuous exposure to the carcinogen. And in the case that is relevant to what we're talking about, which it's UV. And then you would have progression, where you would have invasion and metastasis. So with chemoprevention, you mainly target the center stage, which is promotion, because it can be reversible. And so Rooibos was found that it could also be used in that promotion stage because of the compounds that you find in there. And those have been mentioned. It's your polyphenols because of their antioxidant properties and other health properties.
And you'd be using it in conjunction with other forms of therapy, or can you just be drinking tea and then your skin cancer is going to...
Okay, so there's different ways in which you can use it for chemoprevention. You can use it to drink, but our study focused on its use topically.
Yeah.
So we're focusing on how it can be used, applied directly to prevent cancer development.
All right, Tandeka, thank you very much. Lana, next to you. What current research then is being done in this space?
Well, currently we are utilizing a pre-exposure model wherein the skin cells are pre-treated with Rooibos, then the Rooibos is taken away and it's exposed to UV after. This is to test the Rooibos ability to be a preventive measure against inflammation that can increase the risk of developing skin cancer. So this far we have shown that the Rooibos decreases molecules that promote inflammation and also activate other cells that assist with inflammation in the skin. But there's also a lot of other molecules and interlinked communications at play in the inflammation process. This we call signaling pathways. So we need to figure out which molecules are shut down or activated during sun-affected inflammation, and how Rooibos affects these specific molecules and signaling pathways.
Are we working off any hypotheses at the moment, or are you just saying let's try and let's see what's going to happen?
Yeah, we're just seeing what comes from it. Yeah, but we do know that it does. Rooibos does decrease I almost want to say the main effectors of inflammation.
Yeah.
Yeah, molecules. So, but there's many steps that happens between UV exposure and the inflammation. So we need to see in which steps the Rooibos is affecting the inflammation pathways.
Which could be one step or could be
multiple
steps.
Yeah,
Okay,
at this point, it's not sure.
And then obviously will then help design the kind of treatment that could be affected by...
Yes, so it'll help to make it more specific.
All right. Let's bring Mariska Lilly, Dr. Mariska Lilly. I suppose your focus area of research, particularly when it comes to skin cancer and Rooibos, please.
Okay, it follows up with the continuation of what we are currently doing is to gain more scientific evidence of what the Rooibos and the UV does to skin cell culture models. So it's also to understand the chemopreventative properties of Rooibos, and we use pre-UVB irradiated skin cell culture models for the study to identify specific protein biomarkers for early detection and prevention of skin cancer to be used in future clinical trials. So the main focus of the current research is on proteomics. We use a proteomic approach to identify these biomarkers, and so we also focus on oxidative stress, apoptosis, and again the inflammatory signaling protein networks that all works together in the cell.
It's probably the second or the third time that the use of the term proteomics has come up. What are those?
So we want to look at the cell and everything that happens in the cell when we treat it with Rooibos and UV on a more holistic level. So back in the day, we used to look at one protein at a time, but now with new technologies and everything that's available, we can actually look at the total proteome of the cell. So why this is important is the most striking example of the importance of proteins is maybe if I can use the butterfly and its worm-like larva, the caterpillar. They have exactly the same set of genes. However, they are as different as night as day, and that is the secret lies in the proteins that each gene code for. So, and this is also true if you look at the different cell types within one organism. The difference between the cell functions of skin cells or in the eye or the liver is because of the difference in the protein networks of these different cells. So, and a lot of the time, this holds a key in the cell between being ill or healthy. So, therefore, the role of the proteins are extremely important, and also in this area of research, to see what the effect is of the Rooibos on the skin cells, in total on all the enzymes in the protein networks, and then also the effect when it's irradiated with UVB, before and after, pre and post exposure.
Thank you very much for that, Mariska. Let's bring in Dr. Stefan Abel now. What new technologies are in place that we have access to that will help with the investigation of some of the underlying mechanisms?
One of the new technologies that I'm using, you've heard about proteomics, metabolomics, and things like that. So it's another omics, it's lipidomics, which is looking at your lipids in the cell, especially the cell wall. The cell wall of all cells are made out of lipids. So anything crossing cell walls, going in and out of the cell, that's called the signaling pathways. Your lipids are very involved in that, so you can manipulate that through your diet as well. I don't know if people have heard of the omega-3 supplementation or fish oil supplementation. That's sort of a lipidomics kind of thing. And so we're using lipidomics to look at signaling molecules that we can use to find out early events in inflammation to prevent skin cancer. So
And the future of Rooibos in this research?
the future is based on our research with the students and our colleagues, we're looking at sort of two applications. We're doing research on the pre-exposure model and the post-exposure model. The pre-exposure is Lana's model, where we're trying to prevent inflammation. Tandeka worked on the post-exposure model, where this is after sun damage, where Rooibos actually removes damaged cells. So those are the two models that we're looking at, and we are in the process of looking at a product. So depending on which model is going to give us good results, or depending on the technologies that we are using, we're going to be looking at a product.
How soon?
That's difficult to say. It's not a very easy process because polyphenols are also degraded by the sun. So it'll be a topical application. So you'd have to have some kind of system where you can prevent polyphenols being degraded by sun exposure. And we'll have to. And we're also trying to work with natural things. So there's quite a bit of research still with product development.
That's amazing. Janine, what sort of other research then is being carried underway, I suppose, in this space?
Sorry, a few years back, we did a model where we looked at what Tandeka was talking about, a model where we interfered with the promotion of skin cancer. So just remember, we're not trying to cure skin cancer. That's not the big point here is to prevent it. So all of us probably do carry initiated cells. So that means cells with damaged DNA because we've been overexposed to the sun. That's okay. If we get even more exposure to the sun, that initiated cell can now cause other cells to start growing out of control. So we are trying to intervene at that promotion stage, or where the cells just go haywire and they start growing. So we did a model where we actually interfered. We did initiation. We could we can start initiation by exposing to ultraviolet light, B specifically, and then by further exposure with ultraviolet light and the intervention with Rooibos. So we would apply Rooibos to the skin for about 30 minutes before we exposed again to ultraviolet light. And then you kind of have to follow that model until the skin cancer starts developing, or the growths. They are not really cancer as such because they're very early stages. They are just growths because of uncontrollably being divided. So in terms of that, we found Rooibos to actually protect 75% against these cancer growths. They had less than 75% growths on it.
Is any of this research at a clinical stage already, or is a lot of it still in a lab somewhere with like things?
I don't think any ethical body is going to allow you to induce skin cancer in any human. So that's not
Which is right.
Yeah, which is definitely right. So what we are doing is looking at different methods to get actually samples of that skin that has been exposed. And one of those methods are skin stripping. So you would take tape and you would just pull it off, and you will, on that same spot, pull off that tape, a new tape, every time you would take a layer of cells. And in the end, you can actually measure what's happening in all those different layers of cells. So that is a method that we are now looking at, and that's a method that is relatively non-invasive. It won't cause any bleeding or anything. And yes, it's much easier as well to get ethical clearance for something like that as well. And it will tell you a lot about what is happening. If you look at the different layers, this skin stripping actually strips off the very top parts of the epidermis. And that's where your immune cells are also settled. So you will get an idea in terms of what's happening to those cells, the DNA damage that might have taken place there, or the lipids damaged, or the proteins damaged, what is going on in that layer. So that's the next step. that we will
Very
definitely
fascinating.
involve humans.